the Virginia School of Traditional Arts. Our project for today is a planting board. And you use a planting board in your raised beds or in your garden, and ours is designed with a thin edge and then some different spacing. The planting board is set up with V notches. Every V notch is at 6-inch spacing. The larger V notches starting from this end are at a foot spacing. And then we have some little round notches cut in with a rasp, and those are at every 8 inches from this end. And we've set this board up to be about 40 inches. Our bed here is approximately 48 inches across, and so we can use that if we want to start halfway. Start here, lay it down and plant like that. If we want to start 6 inches from the end, we would start here and we could measure it out. The thin edge is to make grooves so you can put your seeds in it. You can also use it to flatten out your ground if you need to. But this is a good little project. We're going to take you through how to make it today. Doesn't take many tools, doesn't take really any particular board. We'll show you what we got. I would add one thing to this one. I would drill a hole in it so we can hang it on the wall, and I would label what it is and what our spacing is, because you can make multiple ones of these. If you wanted like 18-inch spaces or 16-inch spaces, you certainly could get by with that. We're going to make us a planting board today. We're going to use this piece of pine. This is a reclaimed board, but you can certainly use a new board. This board is approximately 4 3/4 wide. It certainly could be a 1x6 and about 3/4 thick. And I have just trimmed it down on the table saw at an angle here like this. You could have done that with the plane. I just chose to do it with the table saw, save us a little bit of time. But basically I've trued up the edges, and it doesn't have to be white. That was just part of the reclaiming. We took it off of a cabinet. And so we're going to round over the corners today with our plane just a little real quick. And just to make it a little easier on our hands, you can do this with a plane, or you can do this with a file, rasp, sandpaper even. But basically we're just knocking off the corners just to give it a little more, make it a little easier to hold. And our thin side here, if you're wondering, our thin side is for planting seeds. We thin down one edge so that we can plant the seeds in a groove. And we just want it to be more or less straight. This is nothing on this has to be in a particular size. Alright, so we got that pretty round. So I'm going to flip it over and round this side just real quickly. And the plane I'm using is just a little block plane. You can get these most anywhere. They're fairly inexpensive. And it's nice to have a nice sharp one. This one's pretty sharp. And all I'm doing is I'm starting at about a 45, and then I'm rolling about, I don't know, more than a 45 and then less than a 45, and I'm just making a round corner on our board here. And then we're going to come on this side and do the same thing. I'll flip it around so y'all can see it. Just take a couple of strokes with the 45. Once you get your 45 like you like it, you stroke it to a little less than 45. Stroke it to a little more than 45. And then And let's go over it and see where it feels sharp. Now that feels pretty good to me, so we're done with the plane. And this does not have to be super smooth. It just needs not to be sharp. We certainly could ease the edges on the back if we chose. But the next major step is to figure out what we're going to plant and what our spacing should be for our plants. And what I normally plant most things at is either 6 inches, 8 inches, a foot, 16 inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark every 6 inches, and we'll put us a little cut for that, and then we'll go back and we'll do a little bit for an 8-inch spacing as well. So basically our planting board here is we're going to mark 6 inch, we're going to do 12 inches, we're going to do 18 inches, and 24 inches, and 30 inches, and 36 inches. Okay, so we got our marks on there. Alright, we've got us a square, and all we're going to do is the little finger trick where you hold your finger against the wood and you hold the pen at the same position, and we're just going to give us a little bit of a stopping mark that's so that it'll be all about the same. Same depth, I guess, is what I'm after. Well, we'll mark the ones that's a foot. We'll mark ones that are a foot from this end, or on a foot spacing. So it'll be this one and this one, as well as that one. We'll mark these a little deeper. So we'll hold our finger a little bit more in, and that way we can, when we cut those, they'll show that they're a foot mark. To get you a little bit closer on what we're doing, we just got our angles marked. This is the 45. It's hard to hold it and film it and show y'all what we're doing, but the 6-inch marks are a little bit closer to the edge than where the foot marks are. So we're just going to cut those out now with our coping saw. And basically the size of your notch is what you're after, not the precision of the notch. This is, again, just something to go into use in the garden. My saw seems to want to cut one-sided today, but anyway. But that's the idea. Bigger notches, littler notches. Get that one in the middle. Alright, and we'll just move our clamp here because I have that one set. Too close to the vise. And the way you use a coping saw correctly, I usually sit down with it. I get on one knee. And I always tell my students, pretend this is a sewing machine. All you're trying to do is make it go up and down. You're not trying to push it forward. And the more you try to push forward, the more it wants to fight you. But we have our notches cut in here now, so we're going to go back through and we're going to measure and put our 8-inch sections on this. So, put an 8-inch spacing. So, here's 8, 16, 24, it's already there, and 32 we need one. Okay, so that's going to be our 8-inch spacings. Now what we're going to do with that is we're going to use a round file or a rasp. Just going to use a rasp like this, and we're just going to cut us a little groove on the edge here. We'll set this thing up on the vise. And that's how I had it clamped in my vise. I clamped down this board and then clamped down the board we were working on with the actual C-clamp. Okay, I gotta find my marks. There's a mark. So that's our 8-inch mark, and we're just going to do that at every point we marked here. I don't use the 8-inch ones as much as the 6-inch ones, so that's why I made them smaller. But as you can see, just in a second or two, we have our marks. Now this one falls in between these, this one here, and so what I'm going to do with it is to make sure I recognize it as an 8-inch mark. Alright, so that's what we have. That's what it looks like on the back side. Like I say, this could be made out of anything. Pressure treated decking, the decking is fairly thick and heavy to use, but like pressure treated 1x6 that they make fencing out of, that kind of thing would be ideal for that, and that's what we do here at the school. This just happens to be a piece of scrap wood I located this morning. It's a piece of pine. But now that we have our board, we'll take you out and show you how to plant. Alright, we've got our planting board here, and we put a coat of paint on it, let it dry a little bit, but it says a narrow edge, so basically what you do with it, you get your soil amendments right. You want to see how to fix a raised bed like this, we've got videos on that attached do this. But you put all your stuff in, you break up your clods, you get all your sticks out. If you have seeds to plant, you basically put your thin edge down, and that leaves you a row for your seeds. If you have plants to plant, bigger type plants, you would want to plant them farther apart. And so, it's a little kale. We would plant those about that far apart. We want to leave this some room to grow. We'll put our sign back in here. And we've got one more kale. And these are little fancy kales. You can eat these, but you want to, they've grown mainly for their foliage. You put your and now the way you use your, we didn't really use our board doing those two because they're going to be bigger, but if you've got smaller things, like we have some smaller greens here. This is curly kale as well. And kale is perfectly fine to plant with seeds. We're just trying to get a little head start on our salad fixings because of the coronavirus deal. But you certainly can plant seeds. Kale is, that's how we normally plant them. But the way you use this board, without breaking up our plants, is you take your board. This side has the 6-inch side, so we're going to pick them 6 inches from the side that your camera's on. And we're going to plant these every 6 inches. And so every notch, we're going to plant a kale. And leaving the board there makes a straight line and gives you your spacing. And these kale we're going to be planning on eating pretty quickly. And so we're planting those fairly close together. You can get by with farther apart, but if you're planning on eating them pretty quickly, you'll be taking them up some, so they won't get as big as they normally would if you're cutting. So there we go. We get to the end of our row. I gently flip my board around, scoot over a little bit. I'll start from this end. Right down here. And like I say, we're planting one at every notch for 6-inch space. We could probably get by with a little bigger than that, but this will work. Put our tag up here. We'll go back through and mash down right around them, make them stand up a little bit if we can. And we're going to water these good today. Alright, we're going to plant us a couple of rows of onions here. You need a little space with your onions, but not a crazy amount of space. So we're going to use our little edge to make us a straight line, basically. that. And we made those deeper than we would make seeds, of course, for seeds. But I have 3 different kinds of onions. These are yellow onions we'll plant in this bed. We're going to plant some, about a pound and a half of onions here. And on our onion, it's got a bottom and a top. The bottom is where the roots are. That's the bottom. And we're going to put it down in our little trench with the top up, we hope anyway. And we want to plant them about twice as deep as they are fat. And we want to stretch them out here, make them about 3 inch, about the width of your hand, 3 or 4 inch spacing. I like them in a straight line, and sometimes I'll do circles, do different kind of patterns, because these come up fast and they look good. And these are called onion sets. You can buy onion seed. It just takes a little longer to get an onion, but you get a little better onion usually. A little bigger one sometimes. And onions will self-seed. We have lots of times let a few go to seed in the fall, stop picking them, and they'll go to seed, and then in springtime you'll see wild onions. Well, they ain't wild, but they're self-seeding onions coming up. Like I said, get them about 3 inches apart. We don't want these too close. We've got to give them some room to work, room to grow. Grow. Dropped a couple. Just little teeny one. We'll stick him on the end over here. And then once we get that, we'll just gently cover these back up. And they're in a straight line now. We'll just gently cover them back up. And just in a couple of days, those will be through the ground. They'll be up. And we want to mash there. Whenever you plant something, you want to go back through and you don't have to pack it, but you want to mash the soil down tight so that you're getting a good connection to the soil, so that the moisture in the soil will go into the plant's roots, or in our onion case, into the actual bulb. And it doesn't matter if it's a vegetable plant or if it's a flower or what have you. You just want to make sure that they're mashed down good. Air around the root systems are not a good plan. It's not not you don't want big gaps on it. Alright. So these are white onions. Tag up put on this. And I appreciate y'all coming by and stopping and watching the video today. And we'll clean this board up. One other thing I will do with this board is I'll drill a hole in it so I can hang it on the wall. And I'll write down what it is, and probably even write down my spacing on this, so that we may make some more of these and use different spacing. I hope y'all have enjoyed this. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. And we will see you next time.